here. All right, everybody see why we're doing that whole, I'm going to trip you up thing? When you start going high speed on these things, you're going to trip and fall. Concentrate on your footwork. But basically, there are multiple different types of doorways, but most things that you're going to see in and around the airsoft community are doors that will open towards you, doors that will open away from you, or no doors at all, okay? And that's really going to affect how you guys are going to move as a team or individually to engage targets that are possibly inside, okay? So things to look for if there is a door is to look where the hinges are. If you can see the hinges, where's that? If you don't see the hinges, there's multiple, like we talked about before, there's multiple different types of entries. There's dynamic, static, soft, or hard, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, the way that we look at it is a soft entry is anything that does not involve a tool. You know, so like a breaching charge, or bolt cutters, or kicking it, which we don't, you know. Kicking looks really cool, and most people do it, especially airsofters, but it gets you so incredibly off balance. I mean, just try to kicking, especially if the door comes right back into your face, like at mount sites, kicking's not necessarily the way to go about doing things. Here, for this particular course, we're going to do all soft entry stuff, which means using or getting in the doorway without using tools. Now, obviously, a doorway like this isn't going to close, but for training purposes, let's say this door is closed. So you would have, we're going to start doing two-man stuff. So one guy would work the handle, the other guy would be focusing inwards, right? When it's opening them away from you, chances are there's going to be some type of, you know, handle or doorknob or something of that nature that is pretty obvious you're going to grab it and move it towards you. If there isn't a door, if there isn't a door handle and you're going to push it away from you, there's a couple things you can do, especially at mount sites. Mount sites have a lot of doors that you just hold them closed, so they just hold closed like this. There's no doorknob or anything like that, and that's when you start seeing guys start walking in, and they usually get hosed. A couple things you can do. You can simply push it open. And I'm not saying push it like, now they know you're there. It's a light push just to get the door open enough to see what's going on inside the room. Question. Just because you know what's going on inside the room, does that mean you're going to breach the room? Just because you stack up on a wall, does that mean you're going to go in? What if you knew what was in that room before you went in and you were in a stack? Would that change everything? Yes. So, if I can do a light push to see inside, and I wouldn't normally have my gun open, I want to flag everybody, then that's what we do. Another thing you can do, I'll try and do it for everybody to see, is push it with your muzzle. If it's one of the push doors, that way your gun is up. The problem with that is, generally speaking, you want to follow your muzzle in at that particular point. Because if there's somebody in this corner and I don't have a buddy, all he saw was a gun, come in and do this. And now he knows I'm there. So it looks something like this. Make sense? We're going to start with no doors, and we're going to do it in the building over there. Does anybody have any questions? I'm trying to spit through that for a little bit. All right, so. Hey Jeff, you got your gun?
Well, I went down.
Well, you don't even have your dude up there.
No.
All right. We're going to get everybody on that side of the wall looking in through that wall over there. Yeah. On the other side of the wall.
Handsome.
I pulled everything out and sit by the front door. That's
10, this is the outside. Okay. Can everybody see? Yeah? Yeah. All right. 10, this is the outside, and that's the inside. So we'll get into how to get into this position first. Right now, all we want to cover is two-man communication and teamwork into the breach. Okay? Again, this is a soft breach. We're not doing any hard breaches. No doors. Okay? What we're going to do is you're going to pick a partner. Try to keep that partner for the rest of the day if you can. So Jeff and I have moved to this position. Jeff and I have moved to this position, and we have positioned ourselves in a doorway to maximize the efficiency of seeing inside. Okay. Now what you're going to see, and this is like I was saying before, this isn't the only way to go into a doorway. Okay, we're talking about airsoft, very small team element, maybe just you with somebody you just met in the parking lot. If there was a team with us, Jeff or myself would have a majority of the team stacked up behind us. But what we want to try and do, and what we try to do, is position two guys on the opposing side of the door. Does anybody know why we do that? Especially if it's an open door. Do what?
Cross view outside.
Yes, there's that, but if it's an open doorway, and he's there and I'm here, what do we immediately know?
He knows what's on that side, you know what's on that side, and communicate back and forth to each other.
Problem solve.
Right.
So if Jeff gets to that position, and I'm in this position, I can, whatever your team wants to do, if you want to do the, whatever, to say that there's nobody there, then you can do that. So I can say there's nobody there, he can tell me that there's nobody there, and then, again, any type of communication you want to do, whatever that communication is, just don't take your hand off fire control. Good thing, how many times you see that, you're like, yeah, there's two guys right there. Can't shoot them. So, why don't you say there's two guys right there, and then line them up. So, what we're going to do is we can look at each other and we can nod, or we can do a slight muzzle nod to let us know that we're now going to breach, okay? Everything transitions over. The same movement, everything transitions from what we were doing over there to what we're doing now. Now, as we get kid on, as we get bigger guys, it's going to be harder depending on the doorway to fit two guys in there. So you're going to have to stagger, okay? And in staggering, you're going to have to be careful where this thing is pointed, okay? So Jeff and I are going to go incredibly slow. Watch our footwork. Watch how we pivot into the room. And watch how we immediately dive into the corner with our vision and our muscles, okay? So, real slow. Ready? Now, what that immediately did is we had 25% of the room covered from about right here. So, if I got here and there was a guy in that corner, I could engage him. Jeff could engage the guy in that corner as we're coming in. We already know these corners are clear, right? So we don't have to worry about, hopefully we don't have to worry about somebody shooting us from there. Now if there's a window or something, that plays a completely different factor. So assuming there's a guy there or there's a guy there, Jeff and I have just killed them as we're coming in. All right. Now, in this position, depending on if there's unknown areas or danger areas in the room, we've got about 80 to 90% of the room covered, and we took about 7 steps. See how that works? Nice and slow. Look with your head, look with your eyes. There's a rule, again, depending on which school you go to, that when we dominate a room, so let's say this is the room we breached, we come in through the corner, when we dominate the room, I'm responsible for everything from this corner all the way to 3 inches off Jeff's muzzle. Jeff, hold up your gun. So I'm responsible for all this. And Jeff is responsible for everything to my muzzle. See how that works? So if we're searching and assessing the room, we're both responsible for a majority of the room. Obviously, we're not responsible for this area, but we just came from that area. Now, as you add more elements into your team, then guys start scooting over more. you start setting up rear security and things like that. So that's a little bit more advanced, okay? Any questions? Jeff and I are going to do it about 50% speed in this room, okay? All we're focusing on right now is this doorway. Okay, we're going to get into strong walling and moving throughout the room in a minute, okay? Notice, you guys see us. Does anybody see us?
No.
That's the way it should be, right? If I was here, and this was a game, you guys could shoot me. Because am I honestly going to be focused on what's going on out there? No, I'm focused on, all right, see in position, roll cool, oh yeah, I'm about to breach, right?
How's my camera?
Yeah. Somebody filming this, right? You don't see my muzzle. Yeah, that worked. We even clipped a little bit. I don't know if you guys heard it, but we didn't trip up. We didn't lose momentum. Cool. All right, yes.
I understand what you're trying to do, but what, like, two of you go at the same time, what are your thoughts on one go, one way, like in a stack situation to minimize you coming in on each other and having two dead bodies right in the door?
Talking about a
You
crisscross?
got killed by one guy in the same corner who just happened to pull the trigger twice. It's like one goes left, or two goes right, then you're both in. So what are your thoughts on, like, you're this way versus the other? Just because I just see that as, like, if you get unlucky, two dead bodies right at the door.
Right. Well, let's say it's absolute worst case scenario, and there's a pile of desks right there, and there's a guy sitting behind it in a hole this big with a saw. In the real world, we J-dam that room.
Yeah.
And an airsoft, if it was a team of guys, and you've seen it in 1,000 videos, and it's happened to us, you're going to get the accordion effect because they're just getting riddled right here. All right? What do you need that's in that room so bad?
The other thing is too, you're talking about a single stack. I think what you're saying is in a single stack, this guy, the secondary guy, can back off.
Yeah, if one guy goes in and gets killed, the other guy.
I'd rather be there with him laying down fire than backing off. That's just me.
And
Because you're laying down 2 lanes of fire at that point.
And the other thing that we've actually done before, it's up for debate, of course, but, Jeff may hook first, and he's getting shot, and he's getting shot, so it's, because if he's focused on him, and he's going pow, 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 he's putting his hands up, hit, I can almost use him as a shield enough to get this guy. Now, he may pop me, but I'm going to hit, what we try to do, especially if we're using a lot of guys, you push through. You don't go, all right, you got me, I'm hit, and the rest of the team's trying to come through. The first 3 guys may get hit. I mean, that's especially if there's a lot of dudes in there that are waiting to shoot you. I mean, it's gonna be like, all right, this is really gonna suck. Please don't shoot me with this. And I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna hit. It just pushing me out of the way. Keep pushing through.
You gotta know though, you're in the front of the stack. You're the bullet man. You gotta know that. I mean,
Yeah, well, the other thing is like, you don't always get to come up on either side of the door. So you might have to cross
Well,
the
and
door.
you'll see.
In a no-door situation like this, that is not exactly the wise thing, because now you know, there's one guy, well, there might be, I would just assume 2 at
Right.
minimum.
Well, what we're going to do, the next drill we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we position 2 guys. Because realistically, if we were to do this in a real life, what we would do is the 2 guys would roll up to this point, and then we're gonna slice the pie to get a guy there. And in slicing the pie, we've cleared 75% of the room, and we know what we're going to get into. So if Jeff's standing right here, come on, Jeff. So Jeff and I are getting ready to breach. So we came up together, but I want to try to get to the other side of the door so we can do our ninja fight stuff. Then I'm going to let Jeff know that I'm going to slice the pie, right? It's not going to take all day to do it either. I'm going to... Now, let's say he's right there, right? I immediately am getting in an engagement with somebody. So now, it's problem solving. The rest of my team knows somebody's in there.
Yeah.
Maybe I get him. Maybe he gets me.